Krish, on the 30th of September, Vladimir Putin held a sort of annexation ceremony in St. George's Hall, the Kremlin. Everyone was there, the Russian elite. And at the end, he gave a speech where he spoke about the annexed areas of Ukraine, including Kherson, and he called them forever Russia. Well, forever lasted about 6 weeks. About an hour from where we're standing, the people of Kherson city are dancing on the streets. They are celebrating the resilience of the Ukrainian army with Western support. An army, remember, that by some estimates was 5 to 7 times smaller than their enemies. But it's worth noting that this retreat by Moscow has been strategic. Although it's been forced on them, they are arguably doing the one sensible thing they've done throughout this war, which is getting back on the other side of that river and fortifying and digging in for a long winter war ahead. None of that, though, will detract from the celebrations in Kherson city today. Freedom Square, Kherson city, living up to its name. A woman soldier hoisted onto shoulders. The chant, ZSU, Ukrainian Armed Forces, over and over again. Another one of the Ukrainian troops takes the selfie of a lifetime. Someone in the crowd wipes a tear away. Another sums it all up in 3 words. Kherson is Ukraine. 3 words that translate into this: the biggest Russian loss since their withdrawal from Kyiv at the start of the war, and a moment of acute embarrassment for Vladimir Putin.
142-й центр прилетає з Херсона!
A member of the Ukrainian Special Forces, the ones working secretly inside the city for days now, sends greetings from the city centre, complete with watermelon in hand, the region's signature fruit, and stuff of a million memes. The first week of March, just 8 months ago, same square, Russian troops rolling in. A handful of the brave demonstrate against them, dispersed with gunshot. Brave, because back then many thought this invasion would pan out very differently indeed. Ukraine has now taken back over half the territory seized by the Russians since February, and the civic buildings that a week ago flew the Russian flag are now festooned in blue and yellow. These were the images from inside the city. Just 6 miles away along the Dnipro River, this was what was happening. Russian troops retreating on foot over a pontoon bridge headed to the left bank of the river, joining what is, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, a 30,000-strong contingent of their compatriots in heavily fortified positions. The bridge they're walking under, the Antonivsky, repeatedly targeted by Ukrainians, weeks of cutting off Russian supply lines like this, is what ultimately led to the Russian retreat and the liberation of Kherson city. The bridge was completely destroyed in the early hours, although it's not clear yet who dealt the final blow. And throughout the day, the Ukrainians were targeting the Russians on the other side of the river. But even on Liberation Day, Zelensky's inner circle are being cautious. They still believe there's clear and present danger, aerial strikes on the city from the Russians across the river. Mikhailo Podolak is a special advisor to the president.
Occupied cities have been mined, people have been murdered, civilians have gone missing. The shelling continues, cruise missiles, drones and artillery and even aviation. Even when the Russians fully withdraw from Kherson city, it will be the place they will hit with very powerful strikes. We understand this, our armed forces understand this, and we will push away the Russian forces as quickly as possible.
These were the scenes in Kherson city tonight. But how many people in this crowd have been brutalized by occupation? Who among them has had loved ones disappeared? The answers, they hope, will come eventually. But tonight, at least, they're free to dance.
Porrick O'Brien reporting. Well, earlier I spoke to the former Ukrainian Defence Minister, Andrei Zagorodnyuk, and we began by discussing those jubilant scenes in Kherson and how Ukrainians feel watching them.
Yeah, we absolutely. We've been waiting for and working on getting Kherson back for months. Of course, for many people, they thought that this is unrealistic to expect, and this is not going to happen because even a couple months ago, Russians were actively fortifying their positions in Kherson. They were throwing forces there. We had tens of thousands of soldiers just on the right bank of Dnieper around Kherson. So for many people, it seemed to be absolutely improbable, but now it's a reality.
So what do you think this means for the war in a bigger sense? I mean, they will have a much more easy to defend position on the other side of the river. Where
Yes,
does it
but
leave you?
yes, we're not going to cross the river straight from Kherson because the Kherson, the river there is very wide, and of course we will take our areas for the approach. But for us, it's important because first of all, we can cover with the fire the entrance to Crimea, so we can stop them getting to Crimea. We also can do a substantial improvement of the positions around the just generally at southern Ukraine. There is absolutely no hopes that they can take Mykolaiv and Odessa, which they were planning to do. And also Russians understand that they are incapable of invading Ukraine further. They're incapable of holding positions. So for them, it's extremely negative development, which they, of course, they know. But now they're trying to somehow explain this all, which is not very easy to do.
What do you think this means for the prospect of any kind of peace negotiation? If you have a military advance, does that mean you're not in the mood to sit down and talk?
It's not about that, to be honest. I mean, the question is Putin actually capable for negotiating at the moment? Because he's the person who announcing holding those regions, which he cannot keep militarily, but he's insisting that he's going to keep them legally. That's part of Russia, so-called. Now, what is the basis for negotiation here? We certainly are not going to allow him to keep the occupied regions. And he's certainly standing on the position that he is keeping them. At the same time, he cannot hold them from a military perspective. Also, we are insisting that he's a war criminal because he killed like an enormous amount of civilians in a very cruel way by carpet bombing cities. How are we supposed to negotiate about that? Because we're standing on a position that he should be tried as a war criminal. So it's very difficult to find the common basis for negotiations, first of all, with the current government of Russia. So that's the main problem.
Right. And what do you think this winter holds then? Because we've seen already in the last few days with Russian attacks on infrastructure around Kyiv and taking out power, they could plunge you into cold and darkness, can't they?
Well, they will certainly try to do so. Right now, we are increasing our independent generation capabilities. We're bringing lots of portable generators. We do lots of efforts to sort of not allow them to switch off the country. Of course, it's a challenge. It's a substantial challenge, but we will go through it.
And so, do you now feel confident that the withdrawal of Kherson is not a trap?
They are leaving Kherson as we speak. They're living in thousands and actually tens of thousands. They're crossing the river as we speak. Our forces are taking villages like every few hours again as we speak. So no, it's of course they could do the trap, but to be honest with you, trapping right now with the state of the intelligence which we have, that includes satellite, that includes local intelligence and all kinds of intelligences. It's very difficult to arrange the trap technically.
Andrei Zagorodny, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.